Good to have you back. Today we're talking about minor scales, specifically the natural minor scale, or also known as the Aeolian Mode. And we're looking at that scale in 5 different common keys as they relate to their relative major scale. Okay. So let's begin with a natural minor scale. This scale is made up of all the natural notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, F, G, and so on, right? And so its relative major scale would be C major, but we're going to play it from the A tonic to make it natural minor. If I played it as a C major, I would play it from the C tonic. Right? But today we're looking at natural minor scales, or Aeolian modes, and how they relate to their relative major scale. All right, so let's take a look at the 5 keys that we're going to examine today with the relative minor scale. The big deal with looking at scales relatively is that you're not memorizing a mumbo-jumbo of scale fingerings that don't relate to one another, which makes learning exponentially more difficult. If you stay in the land of patterns and fingerings forever without understanding the foundations of theory and applying that to the fretboard, it's just going to simply take you a lot longer to learn, and nobody wants to do that. Okay, so as you can see, I played the A natural minor scale, which is all the natural notes. Like if you sat down on the piano, you could do what I just did on the piano. Anybody could do it. Just only play the white notes, start on an A note, and move all the way up through the keyboard, right? That's a natural minor scale. Okay, so if I want to change this scale to an E minor scale, let's just take a look at the cycle of fifths down here. So in my previous video looking at major scales, we went from C to G, D, A, and E, the 5 most common keys. Now we're looking at the relative minors. So we just looked at C major and its relative minor of A minor. Now we're going to move to G major and do its relative minor of E minor. How do I arrive at the E minor? Just go back 3, right? So in other words, a minor third, C, B, A, down from the G major root, G, F sharp. Relative minor. The same thing with D. And so on, right? It's just that's all it is. So from here to here is a minor third lower. The A minor is a minor third lower. In other words, a tone and a semitone. Here, a minor third lower, tone and semitone from the G tonic, right? So these are related. They're related because they use the same notes. We call them relative. So here's the G major scale. The G major scale has an F sharp. I go down 3. There's my tonal center and my 1 chord. I play exactly the same notes. Octaves. And that gives me a E now we've worked through C major to A minor as the major with its relative minor. Then we went to G and played its relative minor. Now we're going to move to D. This scale of D, or the key of D major, would have a C sharp and an F sharp in it, or an F sharp and a C sharp. You play it like this. Right, and if I go down 3, and now I play the same notes of that I would play in the key of D, except my tonal center is B. It works nicely in B minor as well as D to play it in second position. Okay, so remember that what we're doing here is trying to think of the notes that we're playing. Not just patterns, but think through the notes you're playing. So in other words, the difference between a G major scale and a D major scale is this one sharp, right? So if we were in D major, the one sharp would be C sharp. Or if we're looking at it in the key of B minor, the same thing holds true. We have a C sharp and an F sharp. So when we're thinking through the scale, we go B, C sharp, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. Right? Think the notes, name them out. If you have to. It's a good practice, actually. So now we're moving through the cycle of fifths. We get to the key of A. In the key of A, there is the relative minor of A is F sharp. Go back 3, back a minor third. There's my F sharp. If I'm playing an A major scale, let's just A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And now if I just go down to the F sharp, adding just the new note of F. The new note of G sharp. Okay, so I'm working again through the scale. Each time I move, I'm starting with the major scales and moving to the relative minor. It would be a good idea if you went back to that video where I was doing the major scales. C major scale, no sharps or flats. G major scale, single sharp, F sharp. D major, F sharp, C sharp. A major, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp. And E major, F sharp, and my brain's stopping. F sharp, here we are right here, D sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Okay, and the same thing is going to hold true for the minor scales. Remember that when we call a scale relative minor and relative major, we call them relative because they share the same notes. They share the same notes. It doesn't mean they're in the same key. They are not. They're in a different key. Now let's take a look at E. Here's E is my tonal center. We'll start with the major scale. Maybe work through. What do I do in order to make that scale C sharp minor? I have to start on a C sharp. Obviously, I can't get a C sharp any lower than this low E here, so I have to take it up. Here's my C sharp. Go through the notes: C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and then C sharp, back down. And you can hear that, and you can take it through the whole position. Now that gives us the relative minor scales to the 5 most common major scales. Those major keys are C, G, D, A, and E, moving through the cycle of fifths. And then the relative minors to each of those is A minor is relative to C major, E minor is relative to G, B minor is relative to D, F sharp minor is relative to A, and C sharp minor is relative to E. Remember what relative means. Relative means they share the same notes, but are not in the same key. All right, now I'd like to talk about the chords. These highlighted letters here mean these are the 1, 4, 5 chords in each of these keys. So in the first key of A minor, D minor, E minor, A minor. Just as C major scale, its relative major scale would its 1, 4, 5 would be C, F, G, and C. In its relative minor, the 1, 4, 5 would be A minor, D minor, E minor, and A minor. And so we go through each of the keys. Great practice routine if you really want to get your ears awake and learn where your scales are, and fill out that bottom section of the fretboard, so you're not just patterning through the fretboard, right? And then key of E minor, you start on the E. Remember that we have that F sharp. And 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, and 1. And then we go to the relative minor of D, which is B minor, and my 1 chord is B minor, B, C, D, E, minor, F sharp minor, and back to B minor. 1, 4, 5, 1. Right, and it's just a D major scale starting on the B note, the B tonal center. All right, and then we have the key of A major. Its relative minor is F sharp minor, and the 1, 4, 5 chords in F sharp minor are F sharp minor, B minor, minor, and F sharp minor. And then finally, the key of E major has 4 sharps in it. As we can see here, the sharps keep increasing as we move through the cycle of fifths. I think a great method of being more aware of what you're doing and what notes you're playing and so on is constantly or regularly refer to the cycle of fifths. This way it goes in fifths. To the right, it goes in fourths to the left. Our musical instruments are tuned in fourths and fifths. This is sort of an expression of acoustical physics, a simple expression of acoustical physics, and for that matter, a simple expression of how our system works. We could expand this, right? And for instance, and put this cycle here, and we could put the 1-4-5 chord here: C F G, G G C D, D G A, and so on. And the 1-4-5 in the cycle of relative minors, and so that it's a great way to learn. So here we go with the key of E, and the key of E has E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E. And we'll just play the C sharp minor up here, back 3, right, and do the same thing, C sharp minor, you get the idea. Same notes, but a different tonal center. They're relative, so the scales that we've looked at are C major, G major, D, A, and E, and they're relative minors: A minor, E minor, B minor, F sharp minor, and C sharp minor. And we're doing all of that down here in open position because those are the most common keys on the guitar. Okay, I think that's about it for today. That'll give you a bunch to think about. Make sure to check out the first video where we were talking about just the major scales. In this video, we were talking about their relative minor scales. 5 different keys, most common keys, important stuff. Okay, thanks a lot, and hope to see you again real soon. Happy New Year. See ya.